US and Iran agree on a strategic peace framework. How a sudden Israeli strike imperiled the deal and how it was resolved. 14-point memorandum to be signed this Friday, June 19, 2026 in Geneva. Why Netanyahu's defiance makes the next 60 days highly critical. Trump deals for domestic survival while Iran secures a strategic victory. Welcome to Global Truth. A few hours ago, Donald Trump made an announcement on Truth Social that shook global capitals. He officially declared that a comprehensive peace framework has been achieved between the United States and Iran, mandating an immediate permanent termination of military operations across all fronts, explicitly including Lebanon. Moments later, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif confirmed the breaking news, announcing that after highly sensitive deliberations, the accord is finalized. He stated that the formal signing ceremony for this MoU will take place on this Friday, 19th June 2026 in Geneva, Switzerland. PM Sharif extended profound gratitude to the vital mediation teams of Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Türkiye for making this diplomatic miracle possible. The world was standing on the precipice of World War III. But how did we get here? And how did Israel attempt to sabotage this deal at the absolute last moment? Let's unpack the truth. The road to this framework was highly volatile. Every time a deal neared completion, Israel would launch a critical strike to shatter Iranian confidence and provoke a reaction. Yesterday, June 14th, was no different. Just as the draft was finalized, Israeli jets bombarded the Dihya suburb of Beirut, killing 3 civilians and injuring 6. Israel claimed it was responding to 3 minor Hezbollah drones, but the true target was Trump's imminent peace deal. Tehran's fury erupted, and Iran prepared an imminent, massive ballistic missile retaliation. The deal was nearly lost. According to Axios, Trump flew into a towering rage. Behind the scenes, he was delivering an expletive-laden dressing down to Benjamin Netanyahu, shouting that the Israeli Prime Minister had absolutely no judgment and publicly warning him on social media to stop ruining the agreement. To save the framework, 2 critical interventions occurred. Number 1, Pakistani and Kuwaiti diplomacy. High-level diplomatic delegations from Pakistan and Kuwait immediately engaged Iran's Supreme National Security Council, successfully persuading them not to fall into Netanyahu's bait. Second, Trump's deal sweeteners. To keep Iran at the table, Trump injected immediate financial concessions into the text, promising to unfreeze billions more in frozen assets and secure end to hostilities in Lebanon. Iran held its hand and the deal survived. What we have is a temporary 60-day stabilization framework, not yet a final treaty. The key points leaked to international media. Number 1, an immediate permanent ceasefire across all fronts, including Lebanon. US commitment to non-interference and full respect for Iranian sovereignty. Lifting of the full naval blockade on Iranian ports within 30 days. Withdrawal of US offensive military forces from around Iran. Reopening of the Strait of Hormuz under Iranian management. Immediate suspension of US sanctions on Iranian oil and derivatives. Number 7, a US and allied $300 billion post-war reconstruction plan for Iran. Number 8, a 60-day window to negotiate a permanent treaty lifting all UN, IAEA and US sanctions. Number 9, Iran's reaffirmation under the NPT Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty to never manufacture nuclear weapons. Number 10, a US commitment to no new sanctions or regional force build-up during the talks. Number 11, the systematic release of $24 billion in blocked funds with half made liquid before technical talks begin. Number 12, creation of an international supervisory mechanism to monitor compliance. Number 13, ratification of the final treaty via a formal United Nations Security Council resolution. 14, which are the preconditions. Final talks cannot begin until half the funds are released, oil sanctions are suspended, and the blockade is lifted. Crucially, Iran's missile program and regional resistance networks are permanently taken off the negotiating agenda, the negotiation table. Okay, now comes the million-dollar question. Can this MoU survive the 60-day negotiation window? It is highly precarious, primarily due to Israel. Tel Aviv has officially stated it is not bound by this accord. Netanyahu flatly told Trump that Israeli forces will not withdraw from Lebanon and completely rejects the ceasefire clause. Netanyahu's defiance is driven by two factors. Number one, the Greater Israel Project. Israel's long-term strategy relies on maintaining regional chaos to maximize territorial expansion. This peace deal effectively freezes the map. Number two is Netanyahu's political survival. With general elections scheduled for October 2026, Netanyahu faces severe domestic corruption indictments. If the war ends, his emergency political shield vanishes and he faces immediate investigations and potential jail time. The depth of Netanyahu's domestic crisis is clear from a blistering charge sheet issued on X by Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid, who called this deal the most shocking failure in Israel's history. Lapid accused Netanyahu of losing Washington's trust, failing to convince the US to bomb Iranian oil fields, failing to include the ballistic missiles in the talks, and allowing tens of billions of dollars to flow back to the Revolutionary Guards. Lapid concluded that Netanyahu's arrogance changed the Middle East drastically for the worse. Facing political ruin, Netanyahu is highly likely to launch a major provocation in Lebanon over the next 60 days period, desperate to trigger an Iranian reaction and shatter Trump's peace card. This is what I think is going to happen in next 60 days. Netanyahu and Israel are going to give it all to sabotage this entire process, that this MoU does not translate into an actual peace deal. Now let's analyze this. That who are the winners and who are the losers, what United States earned out of it, gained out of it, and what Iran. Let's start with United States. The United States and Donald Trump, for Trump, this deal is a necessity for his political survival ahead, particularly because of the approaching midterm elections. He needed to depress domestic gasoline prices and halt an incredibly unpopular war. However, Trump faces severe backlash at home. Critics will compare this deal to Barack Obama's 2015 JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which Trump famously tore up. Opponents will argue that Trump's deal gives Iran far more, including the Strait of Hormuz, control of that, and a pass on its missile program, meaning Trump will find this deal incredibly difficult to defend to his base. And another factor which is of key importance is that all the media in the United States is controlled by Zionists. They are going to go after him. And not just the media. All the AIPAC-funded politicians, be Republicans or Democrats, they are going to go after Donald Trump. They're going to make sure that this MoU does not translate into a peace deal. So it is going to be very difficult for Trump, and he might get a huge blow in coming interim elections. And as far as United States is concerned, they faced, despite having all the aircraft carriers and stealth bombers and fighter jets and state-of-the-art missiles, everything, they were unable to win the war. They were unable to carry out a regime change or to gain any objective out of this war. So, as far as United States is concerned, I think after spending all the time, all the money, all the lives lost, I think they have gained nothing out of it, which makes them one of the losers along with Israel. Now let's come to the Islamic Republic of Iran. Geopolitically, Iran has achieved a strategic victory. Despite America's absolute conventional military dominance, Washington failed to translate its naval blockade onto a political surrender or regime change. Iran utilized highly effective asymmetric warfare, using its proxy network and drone capabilities to threaten vital global energy infrastructure in the Gulf and closure of Hormuz, forcing the US to negotiate. While the war has decimated Iran's domestic economy, leaving it facing a bleak financial future, Tehran successfully preserved its government, protected its missile arsenal, and forced a superpower to accept it as an unignorable sovereign regional heavyweight. So Iran has gained a lot, but they have the control of Hormuz. Their assets will be unfrozen. All the sanctions will be relieved. So they have a lot to gain, but they also have billions and billions to come in. And those billions have to be spent on the people to reconstruct the ruins in which Iran is. In the end, when this MoU is signed in Geneva this Friday, the world will get a brief reprieve. But the next 60 days are a diplomatic minefield. Between Netanyahu fighting for his freedom and Trump fighting for his midterms, the peace is expeditionally fragile. The mediators have averted immediate catastrophe, but whether this temporary truce becomes a permanent peace remains to be seen. What do you think about it? Kindly leave your comments below. Signing off, this is Dr. Nasir Baig for Global Truth. Until next time, take good care of yourself.